Hello, dear friends. And welcome back to Wise Pages. For 30 years, I sat behind a worn wooden desk in a small village library in the Cotswolds. I watched people come and go. I watched students who could not start their essays. I watched young mothers who wanted to learn new skills but felt frozen. I watched retired men like myself who dreamed of writing a book but never wrote the first sentence. And over those 30 years, I realized something very simple, very painful, and very liberating. Most of us are not lazy. Most of us are not stupid. Most of us are simply stuck. We want to move. We want to change. We want to learn, to grow, to build, to become something more than we are today. But something holds us back. Something invisible, heavy, and cold. That something is called inertia. Inertia is the resistance to motion. In physics, it means that an object at rest tends to stay at rest. But in life, it means that you sit on your sofa, scrolling through your phone, knowing you have work to do, feeling the hours slip away, and yet, you do not move. And the cruelest trick of inertia is that it disguises itself as high standards. It whispers in your ear, you are not starting because you care about quality. You are not starting because you want it to be perfect. But let me tell you the truth, my friend. Perfectionism is not your friend. Perfectionism is the lock on the door, and inertia is the guard standing in front of it. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have decided that you want to learn to play the guitar. You have bought a beautiful instrument. It sits in the corner of your bedroom. Every day you look at it. Every day you think, I should practice. But every day you do not. Why? Because in your mind, you are not just picking up a guitar. In your mind, you are standing on a stage at the Royal Albert Hall, playing a flawless solo, with thousands of people watching. And because you cannot do that today, you do nothing. That is the trap. You are comparing your first hour of practice to someone else's 10,000 hours. And of course, you lose. Of course, you feel like a failure. Of course, you never begin. So here is the first and most important lesson from Wise Pages today. Are you listening? Good. Lower your standards. I know that sounds like giving up. I know it sounds like settling for mediocrity. But it is not. It is the exact opposite. Lowering your standards is the only way to actually achieve high standards in the long run. Think about a child learning to walk. Does a 12-month-old baby stand up and run a marathon? No. He stands. He wobbles. He falls on his padded bottom. He cries for a moment. Then he tries again. He falls again. He tries again. And after hundreds of falls, he walks. After thousands, he runs. If that child had your perfectionism, he would still be sitting on the floor, waiting until he could walk perfectly without falling. And he would never walk at all. So I want you to give yourself permission. Permission to be bad. Permission to be slow. Permission to be clumsy. Permission to write ugly sentences. Permission to paint ugly pictures. Permission to play ugly chords. Because here is the secret that nobody tells you, the first draft of everything is rubbish. Every novel you have ever loved started as a messy pile of words. Every painting that hangs in a gallery started as a muddy sketch. Every business that makes millions started as a confused idea on a napkin. You do not start at the top. You start at the bottom. And the only way to start is to accept that the bottom is exactly where you belong right now. So, my friend, I want you to try something today. Pick one thing you have been avoiding. Just one. Maybe it is writing a report. Maybe it is starting an exercise routine. Maybe it is cleaning the garage. Maybe it is making a difficult phone call. Now, I do not want you to finish it. I do not want you to do it well. I want you to do something much smaller. I want you to do the tiniest possible version of that task. If you need to write a 10-page report, do not write 10 pages. Write one sentence. Just one. It can be a terrible sentence. It can be the worst sentence ever written. I do not care. Just write one sentence. If you need to exercise for an hour, do not exercise for an hour. Put on your trainers. That is all. Just put them on. If you want to do more after that, you can. But you do not have to. You have already succeeded. If you need to clean the garage, do not clean the garage. Go into the garage and pick up one single item. Throw it away or put it where it belongs. Then stop. You have won. Do you see what we are doing here? We are tricking your brain. Your brain looks at a big task and sees a monster. It gets scared. It wants to run away. So we shrink the monster. We shrink it until it is no longer scary. We shrink it until it is so small that your brain says, "Oh, I can do that. That is nothing." And then you do it. And once you start, something magical happens. The inertia breaks. The ice melts. The wheels begin to turn. You see, motion creates motivation. Not the other way around. Most people sit around waiting for the feeling of motivation to strike them like lightning. They say, "I will write when I feel inspired. I will exercise when I feel energetic. I will call my mother when I feel like talking." But motivation does not work that way. Motivation is not the cause of action. Motivation is the result of action. Let me say that again. Action comes first. Motivation follows. Think about a bicycle. You cannot balance on a bicycle when it is standing still. It is impossible. You only find your balance when you start moving. The movement creates the stability. The action creates the ability. It is exactly the same with your mind. When you feel lazy and unmotivated, your mind is like a bicycle standing still. It is wobbly. It is unstable. It is about to fall over. But if you take just one small action, even a stupid, tiny, imperfect action, your mind starts to move. And once it moves, it finds its balance. And once it finds its balance, it wants to keep moving. I have seen this hundreds of times in the library. A young student would sit at a table, staring at a blank page, sighing, rubbing their eyes, doing nothing. They would sit like that for an hour. 2 hours. They were waiting for inspiration. They were waiting for the perfect sentence to appear in their head. And I would walk over, an old man with slow steps, and I would say, "Write any word. Write the word the. Write the word and. Write the word banana. It does not matter. Just put a mark on the page." And they would look at me like I was crazy. But then they would write one word. And then another. And then another. And 10 minutes later, they would have a paragraph. And an hour later, they would have 2 pages. And they would look up at me with surprised eyes, as if magic had happened. But it was not magic. It was physics. It was inertia being broken by a single, tiny, imperfect push. So I want you to stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. You will never feel ready. The perfect moment does not exist. It is a fairy tale we tell ourselves to feel better about doing nothing. Instead, take one small step today. One ugly step. One clumsy step. One step that you will probably look back on and laugh at. That is fine. Laugh at it. Then take another step. Let me tell you about something I call the don't do list. Most people wake up in the morning and make a to-do list. They write down all the things they need to accomplish. That is good. That is useful. But it is not enough. Because your day is not just a battle between what you want to do and what you do not want to do. Your day is also a battlefield of distractions. Little enemies that steal your time without you even noticing. So I want you to make a second list. A don't-do list. Write down the things you will refuse to do. Write down the traps you will avoid. For example, I will not check my phone for the first hour of the day. I will not open my email before I finish my most important task. I will not say yes to a meeting that does not have a clear purpose. I will not scroll through social media when I am bored. I will not eat lunch at my desk. I will not work after 9 o'clock in the evening. This list is a fence. It protects your energy. It protects your attention. It protects your time. You see, every time you say yes to a distraction, you are saying no to something important. Every time you check your phone, you are stealing a moment from your future self. Every time you say I will just look at this quickly, you are breaking your focus, and it takes 20 minutes to get it back. 20 minutes. That is not nothing. That is a third of an hour. If you lose 20 minutes 5 times a day, you have lost nearly 2 hours. 2 hours every day. 14 hours every week. That is almost a full waking day. Every single week. Gone. Stolen by tiny, invisible distractions. So write your don't-do list. Put it on your wall. Look at it every morning. And when you feel the pull of distraction, let the list say no for you. Let the list be the bad guy. You do not have to say no. The list already said no. You are just following orders. Now, let me tell you about another tool. I call it the burner list. Imagine you are a chef in a busy restaurant kitchen. You have 4 burners on your stove. Each burner can cook 1 pot. That is all you have. 4 burners. 4 pots. But you have 12 things you want to cook. What do? You cannot cook 12 things on 4 burners. If you try, you will burn everything. You will ruin every dish. So you have to choose. You put the most important things on the front burners. The things that need your constant attention. The things that are urgent and vital. And you put the less important things on the back burners. The things that can simmer slowly while you focus on what matters most. That is the burner list. Your front burner is for the 1 or 2 tasks that will change your life. Write that book. Start that business. Train for that marathon. Repair that relationship. These are the things that deserve your best energy, your sharpest focus, your deepest attention. Your back burner is for everything else. The things that are nice to do but not necessary. The hobbies you can pick up later. The courses you want to take someday. The ideas that are interesting but not urgent. Most people make the mistake of putting everything on the front burner. They try to do everything at once. They try to learn 3 languages, start 2 businesses, write a book, get fit, learn the piano, and fix the garden shed. All at the same time. And what happens? Nothing. Because the human mind cannot focus on 10 things at once. It can only focus on 1 or 2. So I want you to be honest with yourself today. Look at your life. What is really on your front burner? What is the one thing that, if you did it, would make everything else easier or unnecessary? That is your front burner. Put it there. Protect it. Defend it from all the other screaming, demanding, urgent but not important tasks that want to steal its place. And be kind to yourself about the back burner. Those tasks are not bad. They are not worthless. They are just not right now. They can wait. Let them wait. Now, I want to talk about fear. Because I know that for many of you, the reason you do not start is not laziness. It is not perfectionism. It is not distraction. It is fear. Pure, cold, shaking fear. You are afraid of failing. You are afraid of looking stupid. You are afraid of wasting your time. You are afraid of what other people will think. You are afraid that you are not good enough, smart enough, talented enough, young enough, old enough, anything enough. I understand that fear. I have felt it myself. When I retired from the library, I thought about writing a book. I had stories in my head. Stories I had collected over 30 years of watching people live their lives. But every time I sat down to write, the fear came. Who are you to write a book? You are just a librarian. Nobody cares what an old man thinks. You will fail. You will embarrass yourself. And for 2 years, I did nothing. 2 years. The book stayed in my head, growing heavier and heavier, until it felt like a stone in my chest. And then one day, I met a young woman in the library. She was crying. I asked her what was wrong. She said she had wanted to start a bakery for 5 years, but she was too afraid. She was afraid of losing money. She was afraid of burning the bread. She was afraid of being laughed at. And I looked at her, and I realized that I was giving her advice that I was not taking myself. I told her, the fear will not go away. It will never go away. You have to do it afraid. That night, I went home, and I wrote the first page of my book. It was a terrible page. I have since deleted it. But I wrote it. And I wrote it while I was shaking. I wrote it while I was scared. I wrote it while every voice in my head told me to stop. And that is the secret, my friend. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting in the presence of fear. Courage is writing the page while your hands tremble. Courage is starting the business while your stomach churns. Courage is making the phone call while your heart races. The fear never goes away. It just gets quieter as you get louder. So I want you to ask yourself right now, what are you afraid of? Name it. Say it out loud. I am afraid that I will fail. I am afraid that I am not good enough. I am afraid that people will judge me. Good. Now, feel that fear. Let it sit in your stomach. And then do the thing anyway. Do it badly. Do it clumsily. Do it imperfectly. But do it. Because here is the truth that the brave people know, most of the things you are afraid of will never happen. And if they do happen, they will not kill you. You will survive. You will learn. You will grow. And you will be stronger on the other side. Think about every successful person you admire. Think about J.K. Rowling. She was a single mother living on welfare. She was rejected by 12 publishers. 12. They all said no. They all told her that a boy wizard would never sell. But she kept going. She was afraid. Of course she was afraid. But she did it afraid. Think about Stephen King. His first novel, Carrie, was rejected 30 times. He threw the manuscript in the trash. His wife fished it out and made him keep trying. 30 rejections. And now he is one of the most famous writers in history. Think about Colonel Sanders. He started KFC when he was 65 years old. 65. Most people at that age are planning their retirement. He was driving around in his car, sleeping in the back seat, getting rejected over 1,000 times before someone said yes. These people were not fearless. They were terrified. But they acted anyway. And that is the only difference between them and everyone else. They acted. They started. They moved. So can you. You do not need to be special. You do not need to be talented. You do not need to be lucky. You just need to start. And then keep starting, every single day, until starting becomes a habit, and the habit becomes your life. Now, let me talk about your energy. Because even if you beat perfectionism, even if you ignore the fear, even if you make your lists, you will still fail if you do not understand one crucial thing: your body has rhythms. Scientists call them ultradian rhythms. That is a fancy word for a simple truth. Your energy does not stay the same all day. It rises. It falls. It rises again. It falls again. In cycles of about 90 minutes. Think about your day. Have you noticed that there are times when you feel sharp, focused, creative, unstoppable? And there are other times when you feel foggy, tired, distracted, useless. That is not a character flaw. That is biology. That is your ultradian rhythm. Most people fight this rhythm. When they feel tired, they get angry at themselves. They drink more coffee. They push harder. They try to force their brain to work when it needs rest. And what happens? They burn out. They get headaches. They make mistakes. They hate themselves. But there is a better way. A wiser way. A way that works with your body instead of against it. Here is what I want you to do. For 1 week, I want you to pay attention to your energy. Get a notebook. Every hour, write down how you feel on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 is I could fall asleep standing up. 10 is I could run up a mountain. At the end of the week, look at your notes. You will see a pattern. You will see your peak hours. Maybe you are sharpest in the morning, from 8 to 10. Maybe you are a night owl, and your best work happens after dinner. Maybe you have 2 peaks, one in the morning and one in the late afternoon. Whatever your pattern is, honor it. Protect your peak hours like gold. Because during those hours, you can do deep work. You can write. You can create. You can solve hard problems. You can do the things that matter most. And what about your low hours? Your valleys? Do not fight them. Do not try to do deep work when your brain is foggy. That is like trying to run a marathon on a broken leg. It will not work. It will only hurt. Instead, use your low hours for shallow work. Answer emails. Organize your desk. Make phone calls. Do the small, easy tasks that do not require much brain power. Or better yet, take a break. Go for a walk. Take a nap. Stretch. Drink water. Let your body recover. You see, the most productive people in the world do not work more hours. They work smarter hours. They know their rhythms. They ride the waves instead of drowning in them. I once read about a famous novelist who only wrote for 3 hours every morning. That was it. 3 hours. And then he stopped. Even if he was in the middle of a sentence, he stopped. He went for a long walk. He gardened. He napped. He did not feel guilty. He knew that his 3 hours of peak focus were worth more than 10 hours of foggy struggle. So let go of the idea that you have to grind all day. Let go of the idea that rest is weakness. Rest is not weakness. Rest is wisdom. Rest is how you recharge for the next peak. And while we are on the subject of wisdom, let me tell you about something I learned late in life. Something I wish I had known when I was young. You cannot think your way into action. You have to act your way into thinking. I spent so many years of my life sitting in my head. Thinking. Analyzing. Planning. Preparing. I thought that if I just thought hard enough, the answers would come. If I just planned carefully enough, the path would be clear. But the path is never clear. Not until you walk it. You cannot see around the corner by standing still. You have to move. You have to take a step. And then another step. And then another. and only then does the path reveal itself. This is why so many people stay stuck for so long. They are waiting for certainty. They are waiting for a guarantee. They want to know that their effort will pay off before they put in the effort. They want to know that they will succeed before they try. But life does not work that way. There are no guarantees. There is no certainty. There is only action and reaction, cause and effect, try and learn. So stop waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel. You cannot see the light from here. You have to walk into the darkness. You have to trust that the light is there, even if you cannot see it yet. And maybe you will stumble. Maybe you will trip. Maybe you will fall. But falling is not failing. Falling is learning. Quitting is failing. Staying still is failing. But falling is progress. Let me tell you one more story before we finish. There was a man who lived in my village. His name was George. George was a bricklayer. He was not a philosopher. He was not a scholar. He was a simple, quiet man who built walls for a living. One day, I asked George how he built such straight walls. I had watched him work, and I noticed that he never used a laser. He never used fancy tools. He just had his trowel, his level, and his bricks. George smiled at me. He had a gap in his teeth and dirt under his fingernails. He said, "I don't think about the whole wall. I don't think about the 1,000 bricks. I just think about one brick. I put one brick down, as straight as I can. Then I put the next brick next to it. Then the next. And after a while, I look up, and the wall is there." That is the secret of life, my friend. One brick. One sentence. One step. One push-up. One phone call. One page. One breath. You do not need to build the whole wall today. You just need to lay one brick. And then tomorrow, another brick. And the day after, another brick. And one day, you will look up, and the wall will be there. The book will be there. The business will be there. The body will be there. The life you wanted will be there. Not because you were perfect. Not because you were fearless. Not because you had all the answers. But because you started. Because you kept going. Because you laid one brick, and then another, and then another. So here is my final question for you today, and I want you to answer it honestly. What is the one brick you need to lay today? Not 10 bricks. Not 100 bricks. One brick. What is the smallest, easiest, most ridiculous version of your goal that you can do right now? Maybe it is opening a notebook. Maybe it is putting on your running shoes. Maybe it is writing down 3 ideas. Maybe it is making a single phone call. Maybe it is throwing away one piece of junk from your garage. Whatever it is, I want you to do it. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when you feel ready. Today. Right now. After this video ends, I want you to stand up and lay that brick. Do not worry about doing it well. Do not worry about doing it perfectly. Just do it. Just move. Just start. And when you have laid that brick, I want you to feel the tiny spark of pride. I want you to notice that the inertia has cracked, just a little. I want you to feel the motion, the momentum, the magic of doing. And then tomorrow, lay another brick. And the day after, another. And one day, sooner than you think, you will look up, and the wall will be there. Thank you for spending this time with me on Wise Pages. It is an honor to sit with you, to think with you, to grow with you. You are not alone in this struggle. We are all walking the same path, stumbling over the same stones, reaching for the same light. So be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Forgive yourself for the years you wasted waiting. And then, gently, firmly, lovingly, lay your brick. Until next time, my friend. Keep turning the pages. Keep laying the bricks. And never forget, the only bad start is no start at all.